What's up, y'all? Welcome to our 10th interview. Today we will be interviewing Kelly Forbes. Kelly just finished his 11th season as the video coach for the Dallas Stars. He played for the University of Oklahoma's hockey team from 2003 to 2006. He also played for the Oklahoma City Blazers of the Central Hockey League in 2006. After graduating the University of Oklahoma, he interned with the Dallas Stars during the 2006-2007 season and freelanced as a television professional for teams from the NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL for 3 years. Kelly also works during the games to help determine which penalties should be challenged. Since the inception of video replay in 2015, Kelly has a 13 for 14 record with his challenges. That's quite a record, and thank you, Kelly, for joining us. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, what part of time as a freelance television professional did you enjoy?
To be honest, all of it. It was kind of, I got into right out of college. I got the internship that following year at the Dallas Stars, and it was more of just getting my foot in the door and doing everything. So it started out with hockey. I was doing tape or EBS with either the jumbotron or TV games, home games, and then I was working as a bartender basically at night to when the team went on the road, so I could do anything. But I just wanted to be a part of sports and get involved with the production side of things. That's what originally I went to school, obviously for broadcasting, and to be in the truck during a live hockey game was a lot of fun. It was busy. I'm not gonna lie. It was. I think I learned more on. I went to college for I was at OU for 3 years going through the broadcast program. I think I learned on the job first 2 weeks maybe more than I had in those 3 years. So it was fast and it was fun and it was challenging, but it actually made me better at my job now. If anybody's been in a production truck, a live hockey game, baseball, football, it doesn't matter. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. It's really maybe not other than baseball, but it's really fast paced, and you got to be on your toes. You got to be quick. So it was a lot of fun.
That's great to hear. And so the NHL, I would say recently, 6 years, but I still think recently replay. While you're freelancing, have you ever connected replay with other leagues like the NFL, MLB, to replay in the NHL, or is it completely different?
As in my job now, the way I
Yeah.
talk to the other. Yeah, I actually I visited when replay happened 6 years ago. That's what it does. It doesn't seem that long ago, but it is. It has been a while. I actually went and visited with the Texas Rangers and their video replay. They're not called video coach, but I went and sat in with them and watched how because we were going to use the same program and software on how to predict replays. And baseball had already been doing it for a couple of years, so I sat in with them. I've been to a Cowboys practice and watched how they do video, so um, I'm I know the Mavericks guys. So yeah, we do talk back and forth because I think you can learn from each other. It's a totally different sport, but they do things and come up with different ideas that we can maybe use for hockey or how to coach. And so I've met with all those guys in town and use some of their stuff, and some doesn't make sense because it's a totally different sport. But to watch them, how they use their software and how they interact with their coaches and players is always helpful, especially for me. So yeah.
That's very interesting. When you talked about the Rangers, and then how has your previous experience as a hockey player helped you determine whether or not to challenge a play during a game?
Um, it's helped. It's a little different. I think that everything I've gone through, whether it was working in the production side of things and how fast paced you have to get a replay out. It's the same thing with making a challenge. You have to make that decision in 20, 30 seconds. Um, it's a little different in the fact that I have so many different angles. So when I'm challenging something as a player, there were certain situations that I noticed as I was going along that maybe have come up, in the NHL with the challenges. But I think I've just kind of learned over the years and just paid attention to the league and watched a lot of things. And that's kind of what's helped me out the most. But I would say the production side more than the behind the scenes stuff more than the actual playing in the game. The game's so fast. It's and you're at ice level where I'm watching more of a coach's side. From we have cameras above, we have cameras from different angles, so I watch it in a totally different view than the players do. I'm watching it frame by frame to see if a guy's foot is off the ice, so it's offside or that kind of thing. I would say more of the production side's taught me. Um, Playing hockey is also, a couple situations have come up that I've noticed, but it's more, I'd say more the production side.
So how was it like to make your very first challenge? Was it nerve-wracking?
Yeah. You know what? We're video coaches are a big part of the coaching staff and the team, and we have a lot of impact when it comes to getting teams ready and preparation stuff. But it was the first time where I was actually, I'm not saying I was scoring a goal or saving a goal, but in reality I was making an impact at that moment of the game. So it still to this day, we're 6 years in. I'm going on to my 12th year with as a video coach, and I get nervous every time I'm doing it. It's a fun nervous, like it's a boost of energy that I probably haven't felt since I played, and that's why I love it so much, because there is that natural adrenaline that takes over, and you're excited, but you're still you put your homework in. It's an offside, or you feel like it's a goalie interference call, but you're still not sure until the ref tells you, no goal. So there is a boost of adrenaline and energy. So it's fun being impacting a game at that level, at that moment, that I haven't had since I played. So
And then, so speaking about video coach, um, I was reading an article and it mentioned how you and Matt Rodell prepare videos for watching on the plane. How do you balance that with also making sure you're up to date with, like you said, replays and making sure you know when to make the call?
well, I mean, when I started out, I didn't have an assistant. I look back now and I go, I couldn't do my job without an assist, without Matt nowadays. So it's amazing to think back when we didn't. Most teams do have an assistant, a video coach and an assistant, because there's so much with it, whether it's the challenges, whether it's the technology, the video, the marking during the game, checking every angle, every replay. So, Matt and I were we'll be going into our third year, I guess, and we've just found a great chemistry and great working relationship. So I know what he's doing. Right after the game, we have basically not a checklist, but we know what each other's jobs are to finish out. So his is to upload the games up to the cloud, basically, so players can watch it home. There's players that, if they're injured or whatever, they want to watch the games too. So we push it up to the cloud. Um, he's downloading the stats. I'm building the shifts right away. He's got a bunch of iPads. I've got a bunch of iPads. So we just kind of go through a checklist of working off each other. We know exactly um, my job and his job when the game ends. So, and there's not much time. We have to. People don't realize we've got to be out of the rinks. We got to pack up all our stuff, um, all our computers. There's a lot of technology that we pull out of our trunk. We got to pack it all up, get it to the equipment guys to get on the plane, while building those shifts to put on iPads to get to the players before they get on the plane. So we just kind of going to. It's a little bit of a chaotic scene probably watching us, because we're wrapping up all our cords and wrapping up our cables and building the iPads at the same time. So it's a hectic half an hour, but anything we can do that extra couple minutes. So that's why it's good with Matt that we work off of each other, because you want to get the shifts, because in reality, players are on the plane, you get them their shifts, they're eating, and then they got to get ready for the next game. We might play the next day, so we try to get them their shifts so they can prepare and learn from whatever they need, or see whatever they had to work on, or what they wanted to see from that different angle than we talked about down at the ice level. So and if we can save a minute and get it to them on the plane, so they can get to sleep a little earlier and then prepare for the next game, that's kind of our job. So
Yeah, so most Stars fans know that you're the one who challenges plays, but is there a more surprising part of your job that many fans may not know about?
um, that's a good question. Yeah, what the challenges is kind of the what everyone thinks about, but it is funny that I always I'm a sports fan, so I love any of these. I love, like, I know the Cowboys are going to be on Hard Knocks. I'll watch every minute of that. I love these behind the scenes, whether it's soccer. I watched the what is it, the All or Nothing with Tottenham and Man City, and I love watching those behind the scenes because I don't think people realize what goes into a day. Just it's you don't turn on. Most people come up, they get off work, they come home, they turn their TV on, they watch from 7 to 9:30. They watch Tyler Seguin play, and then they turn the TV off. They don't realize what these guys or what our coaching staff's gone through during the day to prepare our players for that night. So the things that I would do that most people don't realize, we have 4 to 5 video meetings a day, like on a game day. So we'll have 2 in the morning, we'll have a couple at night. I build a loop, basically, is what we call it, of goalie highlights of our breakdown of our opposing goalie that night. We put up 10 to 11 pre-scout sheets. So we built this all during the day. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't really realize. I've watched one of my main jobs now with this coaching staff is I kind of put the pre-scout together on face-offs on what the other teams do as a team, as a structure. So I've gone through, I would say, I don't even know, 500 to 600 face-offs per game. So if we're playing the Nashville Predators that night, I've watched their last 10 games, their every single face-off, offensive zone, defensive zone, neutral zone, and we break down what their tendencies are and how we want to put up a game plan for that. So that's one thing I do. Whereas we have another coach that does power play. One has PK. So we all have our jobs, and mine is face-offs and coming up with a game plan on what to do against them. More of a team structure thing than a centerman versus centerman thing. So
Speaking of the new coaching staff, or relatively new, on numerous occasions, Rick Bowness has stated that he is confident in your decision to challenge a penalty. How has that helped develop your relationship with him when deciding to challenge a play?
it's huge. The Bones has told me that, and he's obviously mentioned in the media, and it makes my life easier. There's no second guessing. We have 20, 30 seconds to make a challenge. And if I'm sitting there in my head, and because there's sometimes it's not black and white. It's not, some of them are tough decisions, and you got to weigh time of game, score sometimes, especially with goalie interferences, because it isn't a, like I said, clean cut. We should challenge it or not challenge it. So I have to come up with this in 20, 30 seconds. And if I have in my head that my coaching staff, I need to make the right decision here because my coaching staff's starting to doubt me, or I'm not sure if what the coaches are going to understand, believe in me in this challenge. So that's never crossed my mind when I'm deciding if I should challenge it. It's never been one of Bones or one of the assistants are going to be happy or not happy with this decision. I just go off of what, watching my angles, my research of what I've done before that, and kind of either a gut feeling or I know that it's an offside. So it's never crossed my mind that the coach's staff might be upset if I make a bad decision here. I've missed challenges, and every time they've come in, and they've been great every time. So they've told me that win or lose a challenge, they've always been on my side and backed me up, and that makes my job a lot easier.
I remember I was reading the article about the Blackhawks game when it was about a minute in, and you made the challenge, and it was actually John Stevens, the assistant, because Rick
Yeah.
Bowness was out, and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but it was a great play."
Yeah, that's one of those ones that we talk about research, because it had come up about 5 or 6 years before. It's not a situation that happened. So when I saw it, you know, I knew that it was offside. It was a little bit different than your normal one, and like same thing, John. It's not just Bones. It's John Stevens and Todd Nelson and Derek Laxell. Everyone trusts me because that was an interesting night because Rick Bonus had to be back in Carolina that night, I think, and so John stepped in and they trusted me, and it worked out, obviously.
How was your experience in the bubble last season, and did it affect your job at all?
You know what? it was tough. The one reason it was tough was because you weren't with your family. That was the hardest part. But to be honest, it was looking back and now it was. I thought it was a great experience for me. I thought the NHL, there was a lot. It was a tough situation. I thought the NHL did a great job. We were set up in a pretty good situation with the rink. It's a beautiful rink, beautiful hotel there. So no complaints there. Been nice to get outside a little more, but we were playing so much hockey and watching so much hockey. I was proud that I was, there was only I think 50 player or 50 staff and players from each team allowed, and I was one of those. So we're talking about some of the smartest, greatest minds in hockey, and then also the best players in the world. And I was one of them in this bubble. So I took that experience. I had like I said, an interesting time, but I learned a lot from it. I went to every single game. I mean, you couldn't believe how many hockey games there were, especially to start. I mean, we would go, Matt and I were going and watching and breaking down live 3 games a day, and then also going to our practice. So it was the most hockey I've ever been around or been involved in. But we had FaceTime, and it was tough to not be with the family and kids. But from a hockey and professional standpoint, I did enjoy my experience, and then it also helped. We did pretty well up until the end there.
Speaking of like how you were watching games 3 times a day, and then this past season where the Stars usually it was rare if y'all had like 2 days off between
Yeah,
the game. How was that? How did you deal with, like, you mentioned like a crazy scene, y'all packing up and then setting everything up? How did
yeah.
that?
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know how the guys I did. I was tired, and I watched them play hockey, so I can't imagine what it was like physically and playing. And I mean, we were playing. I think we said 4-6 for 11 straight weeks, which is just it's never been done, and it probably never will be done again. So, the one thing that to be honest, saved me in a way because it would have been really hard pre-scouting and getting ready and in and out all the time is we were playing 2 games, against the same opponents. So my pre-scouts didn't really change as much. We'd make adjustments, obviously, off of our game after the first game, but we weren't pre-scouting, and we were only playing 6, 7 other teams or whatever it was. So our pre-scouts stayed pretty similar, so we could go off of them, and then again, you'd play the same team 2, 3 weeks later, and you'd probably go off of what you had done. So my pre-scouts weren't as hard as they could be during a normal year. I couldn't imagine playing Pittsburgh one night, Washington one night, New York, then you're playing LA at home. Like that setup would have been really hard in that situation. So I kind of got lucky that we did almost like a baseball setup where we'd fly in, play 2 games. We'd usually be set up the whole time, so we weren't going in and out as much. So um, it would have been really tough if we were doing our normal pre-scout level or situation. But luckily, we're playing the same team, which I actually really enjoyed. We made some fun. It was kind of fun making adjustments within that little mini series. So the coaches, I think, enjoyed that too, where we could, make some adjustments, and the other team would make adjustments, and we'd have to make adjustments during the period. So it was an interesting hockey season for sure.
So how do you believe you've grown as a coach over your time with the Stars?
Uh, you know what? I've learned to adapt. That's been the biggest thing for me. Every year, every coach. I'm believe it or not, I'm on my with my 6th head coach now. With Bones as my 6th head coach. So been around a lot. Every staff, every head coach has been different, and I've adapted. So my role each year has kind of changed, and that's kind of what has made it fun for me. Is it's not the same thing over and over again. I was talking about the face-offs. I didn't used to do that. I used to do a 5-on-5 pre-scout and basically just hand it off to the other assistant coaches, and they would run with it. Now I feel like I'm a little more involved and have my own kind of voice. So adapting has been the biggest change for me. Is just every year I'm doing something different and trying to learn and get better as a coach. Um, you know, now playing with the players or dealing with the players is different than it used to be. It wasn't. I was by myself when I first started, and no one. There was 2, 3 guys that wanted to watch their shifts. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have some of this tech. That's been the biggest change is the technology side of things. And now we've got kids that we're playing Miro and all these guys have grown up with iPads. They've played their junior hockey, their minor hockey. They're used to watching their shifts and their iPads. So they've embraced the video side of things their whole career. Where when I first started, it was more of the coaches just gave it to the players and you went from then. So we're a lot more involved, and I think that's why it's good to have my assistant Matt, because the job has taken on a lot more than it used to. It used to be I record it, I was involved, but it was a lot of recording, giving assistant coach, and then they would give it to the players. Now players come directly with me, so I have a lot more working relationship with the players.
Speaking of the iPads and like how you'll see them on the bench, what they're looking at, is that you sending them stuff?
Yeah, so that's actually our software. It's going to be so that's Matt kind of runs the iPads thing on the bench. If you ever see them looking down at their feet and there's a TV screen down there, that's me sending almost instant stuff. The iPads are set up off of Matt's computer, and it's all his markings and everything he's seeing. So it's kind of he does all the marking, and it's you know sent to the iPads, and then the coaches know how to run them or the players know how to run it. So that's Matt and I.
Is
Wow.
the angle that the players see, is it what we see, or is it a different camera angle?
Yeah, so we capture more angles, but the one that they will see on the iPad is the live feed, like Razor and Josh, and everything that you're watching back at home. Um, it's the Fox Sports Southwest feed or Bolly's feed now. It's their feed. That's the one we send. The guys are just used to watching that. So we also have what we call a coach cam, and they can flip back and forth if they want. The coach cam is just a higher, wider look that coaches want to watch. Actually, you can see the whole structure. It'd be similar to like a all 22 in football. So we have that angle. We have a couple other angles that I have that we keep, but when the players are on their iPads, that's what they want to watch. They want to watch the feed that you would be watching back at home.
Just another question outside of hockey. So you said you're a huge sports fan, and of course,
Yeah.
the big news right now with Oklahoma and Texas is moving to the SEC. How do you feel about that move?
Yeah, it's it's an interesting one. I didn't see it coming, so it's kind of where the landscape of college football is probably heading. So I'm kind of glad, being OU guy, that they're staying ahead of it. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's a big business, and the SEC is the biggest of all, right? So if it's going to help the school and the program, not just football, I mean, it's a big deal for baseball and basketball and all the other sports, golf. I mean, so I trust OU. I trust our AD. I trust our staff. So I'm sure they've looked into it and I think it's the best for the school. So there'll be some good football. Yeah, you know what? That's what I want, though. Isn't it? That's all we want in September. Is I can't wait for those the Alabama, Michigan games or whatever at Jerry World and any of those kind of games. That's what I want. Now, also, we're going to get OU versus Alabama and LSU versus Texas. More like how great were those games? Those LSU Texas games. Even though I'm an OU guy, I still love watching college football. So now we're going to get more of those games, which is we had kind of gotten away from. You'd see them once or twice a year, and it'd be a big deal. Now you're going to get some even more big games in the SEC. So
Yeah, that makes it incredible for the SEC championship. So that concludes our interview. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us. We really appreciate talking to you about your job, and also glad that we got to hear your thoughts on the OU SEC move possible.
yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.